Hello, and welcome to episode 399 of the Sunday New York Times Read Along. My name is Neil Parekh. Sri Srinivasan is with me in the studio, and our guest is Andrew Sondern, the Deputy Director of News Design for the New York Times. We have an exciting show today. We're going to go to the full 90 minutes. Quick shout out to everyone watching on replay. Thank you for coming back to watch at a time that works for you. Andrew will be joining us to talk about this special section in the paper today, the 10-minute challenge. It's something that we've seen over the last almost, I think, a year and a half, if not longer. Can you look at a piece of artwork for 10 minutes, a whole 10 minutes, and then reflect on what you saw? It's not as easy as it might sound. You can get the PDF from our website. If you go to digimentors.group /NYTReadalong, you'll find today's episode. You can also go to the tiny URL on the screen, tinyurl.com/10-minute challenge, TEN minute challenge, to get the PDF. It's definitely worth it. We'll certainly talk more about it later in the show. But we have a lot to cover. We're going to, of course, after we finish, this is going to be an old school format for the New York Times Read Along for longtime viewers. We are going to interview Andrew for about half an hour, and then we'll review the paper with him. And although he's traveling this week, usually he's in charge of helping to design the A section of the newspaper. So he'll have some key insights in terms of what we can expect there. Again, I want to make sure that we thank our sponsors, Muck Rack and the Graphic History Company. Thank you for your support of the New York Times Read Along. If you're interested in being a sponsor or just placing an ad on one of our shows, send an email to sri@digimentors.group or me, Neil Parekh, at neil@digimentors.group. The show is produced by Digimentors, the social and digital consulting firm that Sri started with his good friend Andrew Lee several years ago. I'm proud to be a vice president of events and communications for Digimentors. We have several people watching, but before we bring them on, let's bring on my co-host, Sri Srinivasan. Sri, good to see you.
Hey, Neil. Great to see you. Hello, everyone. We know we have a lot of new people watching today, along with our longtime viewers. Episode 399. That's incredible. We would have been 400 next week, but we're skipping for Father's Day, and we'll be on our 400th episode on June 28th, and we're going to do some fun stuff with you for that, so you definitely want to tune in on June 28th. But for today, thank you for being here, everybody. Neil, always great to see you. Let's say hi to some folks watching. John's watching from the East Village. Amy is watching from Port Angeles, Washington.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's 5:30 a.m. Here's Doug watching at 5:30 a.m. in the San Francisco Bay Area. And John says that his graduate work was in a branch of art history. One of the questions we're asking, and Neil has been asking on all our social media, can you concentrate? Can you pay attention in this special way in the 10-minute challenge, which you're going to hear all about? And Neil, a chance for you to say hello to someone special.
Someone special. Hello, someone special. For folks who may be joining us for the first time, it's my mom, Sudha Parekh, and I did not realize that she was a basketball fan. She says, great news about the Knicks, and I did notice that the last time they won the NBA Finals is when I was born, Sri. So I know that that's 53 years ago. My birthday was just last week, June 9th. So that was an interesting bit of history. I'm sure that when that year popped up, my mom's ears perked. She's more of a Yankee fan, Sri, just so you know.
Like you are.
More than the Knicks.
I have been waiting for last night since I arrived in this country in 1980. So not quite 53 years, but 46 years. And I want to share a couple of photos from some friends. Here is a photo of multi-generational viewing in Florida. This is Amar Shah, our good friend, writer, author, sports fan, sports journalist, with a multi-generational, his family and his parents watching in Florida as the Knicks won. And in 1996, young Mr. Amar Shah was with John Starks, a legendary player of the New York Knicks, and you see him here. He was 15 years old, and he basically wore a John Starks jersey for his book, Wish I Was a Baller, a graphic memoir by Amar Shah, art by Rashad Doucette, as you can see there. So many people celebrating, so many people having such a great time. And the Spurs are going to win so many championships because of Victor Wembanyama, their great star player, but yesterday belonged to the Knicks. And our mayor in New York, Zoran Mamdani, has been cheering, leading the cheers for the Knicks in the last few weeks. And watching him celebrate was also fun. Yesterday was a very busy sports day, Neil. I don't know if you watched any of the World Cup soccer matches. There were multiple games. We watched Brazil, Morocco, and it was fun to see a really good game to start us off. So much going on in between. I'm sure you're catching the Yankees somewhere. Let's see. Paula Kiger is watching from Tallahassee. Go Knicks. Gunter is watching from Austria, and Mary C. Curtis is watching from New York City, where I'm teaching political reporting to a class of 22 amazing aspiring journalists at the School of the New York Times Summer Academy. Some may be tuning in. The future is in good hands, and go Knicks. Mary is a longtime partner and friend of our show. And Mary, if you're in New York this week, I'm going to come find you to say hi and to see if we can spend some time together. Would love to see you. Ken's watching from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where it's going to be primary season, caucus season very quickly. In advance, happy 400th from DC. Deborah Bernick is saying hello from Washington. And Amy's wishing you, Neil, a happy birthday, 53. The sun's coming up in the Bay Area, and there's a perfect time to start the day, even if it's at 5:30. And the Sunday New York Times makes it better, says Doug Levy, a LinkedIn viewer from Flatlands, Brooklyn. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Neil's Instagram, YouTube, and on our Digimentors website. You can find our archive there. So please take a look. Pradnya is watching from Haverford, Pennsylvania. Go Knicks. Pradnya, great to have you here with us. And she tags friends on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So do that, folks, and they can watch us live or later. We have a very special guest today. The deputy design editor of the New York Times is going to be with us. And we're going to talk about the special section and how you can get it no matter where you are in the world, a PDF of this special section. So we'll meet him in just a moment. We'll just say hi to Patricia. Ken is cheering for the Milwaukee Bucks, 1971. I played the Milwaukee Arena myself, and not long after at a high school basketball tournament. Let's go Knicks. Let's take a quick look at the front page. Go ahead, Neil.
Before I do that, Sir, I just wanted to make a quick note. Most of the folks, when you put a comment in Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, we can show your name and picture. Sometimes LinkedIn doesn't fully cooperate, so that's why we had this good morning from Flatlands with a LinkedIn user. But I looked it up. It's Loretta Chin who's watching. So Loretta, thank you so much for joining us.
We appreciate you being with us, and this is so cool. Let's look now at yesterday's paper so we can compare headlines. Neil's going to blow that up for us. And the lead story yesterday, in gray area of not peace and not war, a limbo might linger even after Iran truce. If there is a truce, there's supposed to be a truce signing. Something's supposed to happen today. Officials clear merger's path at Paramount. And then here are multiple photographs of SpaceX's IPO makes Musk first trillionaire on Earth. Super PACs tied to AI giants muscle into New York House race. This is a big story around here. And prolific artist who put people back in paintings, and that's about David Hockney. And one of the things, an obituary of his written by Holland Cotter, the senior art critic. The thing about David Hockney is he not only was at the top of his game, he wanted to bring people along. So he did multiple times. He was able to show us the secrets of great artists. And so take a look at some of the work that he did. You can Google secrets from David Hockney and you'll find a lot of ideas there. So what we're going to do now is just glance quickly at the front page, and then we're going to bring on Andrew, our special guest. And I hope Andrew, along with all of you, are tagging your friends or texting your friends and say, join the New York Times Read Along. You can watch us live or later. And if you can't find us, the easiest way is digimentors.group, digimentors.group, or find me on social media at Sri on Twitter and on Facebook. You can find me. Okay, the front page of the New York Times today is Economic Strain has loyal group doubting Trump. White working class. Polling data is showing extraordinary swing as midterms loom. This is one of the points we made in our newsletter last week, that even if Trump's MAGA candidates have won all the primaries last week, the fact is that he is underwater with everybody else. But I also wrote recently that if even though the midterms are looking good for the Democrats, I have every confidence that the Democrats will screw this up. News analysis, tougher Iran wants more from talks. And this picture here, no longer Trump branded. Workers removed the president's name from the Kennedy Center on Saturday morning in compliance with a court order. What I don't understand, Neil, and maybe you know this, is why they didn't wait for the Supreme Court to rubber stamp, or in this case, overturn the decision. Why did they not appeal, as they always do, and win 6-3?
I don't know. I don't know what the legal.
Yeah. So somebody watching may know the Ukraine war has outlasted the First World War, and such a pity what's happening there, and of course with the other wars going on in Iran. Also, the existential dread of a deep fake expert. Even more refined AI works bedevil even the sharpest eyes. We are so worried about where things are going with AI. And the World Cup peels Argentines away from phones and has them stuck on stickers. I wonder what the sticker story is. Is it those
Instagram.
Panini stickers or
I'm assuming Instagram stickers.
Instagram stickers, but peeling away from the phones. And then this is the special section we're going to deal with Andrew. We're going to meet him in a moment. Getting an eye full and staying with it, the 10-minute challenge, a popular series from the Upshot, asked readers online to look at a work for art for that long, and we're passing that challenge on to you. We've selected 6 artworks, and each in its own seems enormous, single page. So there's a very special section that we're going to show to you. So now I'm going to step aside so that Neil can welcome our guest in the way he deserves it. And thank you everybody for watching. Tell us how your Sunday is going and post your comments and tell us your thoughts on the various topics that are in the news.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sri. And it is my pleasure to introduce Andrew to the show. Andrew is on the design team at the New York Times. He's the deputy director of news design. And as longtime viewers know, we have a really great relationship with the New York Times, working very closely with Tom Jolly, the print editor, Wayne Camadoy, the art director, and Mike Connors, who runs the printing plant at College Point. And I have to say, it was Mike Connors who actually reached out and suggested that we have Andrew on the show, because he knew that we were going to have this special section that Sri is opening up in the paper this week. And there are some very interesting elements in terms of the way the print was put together. I know Andrew can speak to that. In fact, I think he did a little journalism work himself. He interviewed Mike by email to get some insights on the printing process. But again, want to encourage everyone, thanks to our relationship with the New York Times, we are able to offer the PDF on our website for free. You can find it by going to digimentors.group/NYTReadalong and finding today's show. We'll also put the tiny URL up to make that easier. But for now, Andrew is going to join us. And in particular, Andrew is actually traveling this week, doing the show from Europe. So thank you, Andrew, for doing that, going above and beyond.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. First, if you don't mind, obviously not with detail, but can you tell us a little bit about your time in Europe? Where are you right now?
Sure. Yeah, I've been traveling through Croatia and Italy, and um, it's been about a week and a half. We've had a nice trip here, but I've not been following the news very closely given my vacation, and also I've had limited access to the internet. But fortunately, that all lined up here, and I'm able to join you all on the NYT read-along.
So the important thing is that the Knicks won.
Yes.
I think that's, I don't know if there's any news after that, frankly, but, we'll see when we get to the.
That's about the only thing that sort of penetrated the vacation brain so far.
I'm
But
sure.
I look forward to catching up.
And there are also two Italian coaches in the World Cup, even though Italy didn't make it. There are two Italian coaches, one the coach of Brazil, and then the coach of the United States are both Italians. So that has gotten a lot of attention, I'm sure, in Italy as well.
Now, Andrew, you designed the print edition of the 10-minute challenge, right? It's something that has been online in various iterations, I think going back at least a year and a half, or was it longer than that even? Do you remember?
That's right. It's about a year and a half, and this project came together when my colleagues Larry Buchanan and Francesca Paris had heard about this art historian at Harvard, Jennifer Roberts, who had assigned her class to go look at art in the school museum for 3 hours. And, she was saying that many of her students reacted with horror to such an assignment. And it made Larry and Francesca think a bit about how to rebuild their own attention spans and how to bring an experience like that to a reader of the times. So they put together an experiment, and Larry's written about this on occasions. You can look that up. But they put together an experiment and published it, and the reader response was overwhelming. People really responded to that. They enjoyed reclaiming a little bit of their attention span, and along the way, learning a little bit about the art. So, when it came time to think about it in print, we tried to figure out a way to make it work. It took us a while. But I think we finally did it. We did something that we feel really good about.
Now, it's not in terms of a print project. It was actually pretty complicated to transfer. What you had in terms of online. You have all sorts of space, and you don't need to worry about the real estate and dimensions, etc. In this special edition, you have pictures that go across the span. You have ones that are a single page in terms of the vertical page, because that's what made most sense. The one of the vase, for example, and then you have the one by the Bosch, which it goes three panels, and you have to open up the full paper to see it. Sri has it in front of us, and he's trying to show that's the cover and the back. Sri, you're trying to show us what it looks like, right?
Yep, the full range of this. I had to stand up, as you can see my shorts. I hope they're okay. And I wanted to just show this special edition. So Andrew maybe can talk it through as he was planning it and how he was looking at it and how this all came together.
If you can
it says here,
turn it sideways, Sri. I think that we'll see it a little bit. That's the wide angle. Yeah, the phone is. Yeah.
Tell me what to do.
There we go. So you're
Okay,
stuck
like
you're stuck in a vertical position on the phone.
Okay.
We'll figure that
out. We'll try to figure that out. But in the meantime, here it says, "Look, no, really look. Can you spend 10 minutes with a work of art?" By Larry Buchanan. And Neil knows that I spent 3 years as the chief digital officer of the Met, and I would tell people that no matter how great our digital work, the magic is in the gallery, Andrew, when you're sitting there with a work of art and you. So talk a little bit about this amazing project.
Yeah, I mean, just to give some of the viewers a little bit of background, the way that it works online is there's a super high resolution image of each piece of art, and Larry, Frankie, and graphics editor named Nico Chilla put together a tool that allows you to zoom in as far as you want, really, on some of these images. So you can get in really close And it's not quite the same experience of going to the gallery, of course, but you can really spend some time and explore an image on your screen. So once you're finished, and whether you've spent 10 minutes or 10 seconds or an hour, you'll hit the button that says I'm finished, and then you can read a little bit about the artwork from experts. They'll give you a little bit of context on maybe some other things that were going on in the art world at that time. Might give you a little more context about the artist. And then, of course, there's sort of a close read of the portions of the image that might have some kind of symbolism or aren't purely representational. So when it came to doing this in print, oh yeah, this is a great.
So I'm going to pause the camera, Neil. Neil, I'm going to pause the camera so that we can explore the digital version first, and then we'll come to the print section. Folks, you're here with Andrew, Deputy Director of News Design at the Times, calling in from his vacation rental in Italy. So thank you so much for being here, Andrew. And folks, tag a friend, tell them to join us. They can watch us live or later.
So I brought up the online edition just to be able to show what Andrew's talking about. This is Gustav Klimt's Woman in Gold. And you can just walk us through this real quickly, Andrew.
Sure, yeah. So like I said, this is the start here. There's a little bit of an introduction that tells you what the name of the piece is and offers some questions for you to think about as you're taking a look. But it's a very minimal introduction. They throw you right in. And so when you click I'm ready, you'll get this super high resolution version of it that you can pan and zoom and explore pieces of it to your heart's content. So as you can see, you can get in really far.
Yeah. And you don't usually see that with these kind of images on the web.
No, typically they're fairly low resolution. So Larry and his team at the Upshot have done an amazing job sourcing these images and getting reproduction rights and so on. But it's all in service of bringing an experience like this to the reader.
So you can really get in like to her hands, for example. And then after that, when you say you're done, let's say we've explored this quite a bit. This takes you to the, I only made it 49 seconds. That's not too good. I don't know that we could spend 10 minutes of the show looking at that image, but it's interesting that it gives you the timing on that. Very interactive.
It is a little bit of a challenge. Like, maybe you thought you spent a little bit longer on it and think, oh, geez, maybe I can go back and take a longer look.
And then you can scroll down and then you get the narrative about it. You see a little bit about where the painting is displayed, some close-ups. What is she gazing at? It's a whole discussion. When you were working on the print layout for this, what were some of the challenges that you faced in putting together? What about how did you choose the pieces that you were going to use?
So one of the biggest challenges with this was, if we're going to put this in print and we're going to ask readers in good faith to spend 10 minutes or more looking at these images, we wanted to be pretty sure that the work would be worth looking at. If we're putting poor quality images into the paper or images that are too small to really experience, then it doesn't work. So our curation was partly around images that would work at the scale that we were able to print them at. And we chose 6 images that we put in at various different sizes. And another challenge that we had faced was if we had used standard newspaper pagination, which is to say, as you open it and flip the pages and just limited ourselves to one page, then the images would be too small. If we made something a spread, well, then it would be cut in half and on 2 separate pieces of paper. And so we wanted to think about this in a very different way. What if this actually pulled apart so that the image didn't break across 2 pages? That these images were actually put together in a way that, allowed people to pass them around or hang them up on a wall. So what we ended up with is 3 different paper sizes within the section, 1 foot wide, 2 foot wide, and 3 foot wide, which is something that's extremely unusual in the service of finding the right paper size for the right piece of art.
That's what I was very, very impressed by. I put a few examples on the screen from the PDF, but here's, you see Starry Night by Van Gogh, and you also have this one by Bosch, The Garden of Earthly Delights, which is a 3, effectively like actually not 3, it's 2 in the middle. This is almost like I guess it's a 3 panel, right, based on the page sizes, but it cuts in a weird way when you look at it. So it's just fascinating what it took to put that together. But you can still, and Sri has the hard copy of the paper, you can actually pull it apart and put it on the wall. You can make it, have your own art gallery at home. Right. So there's Sri looking at, that's the one I just showed, the Bosch.
Yep.
Sri, can you pull out one of the sections just to show us what that looks like if you were to hang it? There's the Frida Kahlo.
Yeah. So this is, first, let's just see here. It's easy to tell now. You can see all the ones that they have here, or there's a kind of index to them, including Starry Night. And what I like is there's a mix of famous paintings and not so famous paintings and pulled together. So that's really good. By the way, it says here, take 10 minutes or an hour or 100 hours to do this. So that's kind of fun. So let's go back, and then this is the cover, right? This is the cover, the wraparound of the cover. And there's the second of the 2 Frida Kahlos. And then this is a single page. And Andrew, jump in anytime. This is a single page of A Vase of Flowers by Margareta Haverman, 1716. So again, one of the great things is the connecting of timeless technology, the 1700s technology with today's technology, cutting edge stuff that's done really well. And then this is the Frida Kahlo with the 2 artists here together. And this was 1939. And by the way, such yeah, so you can see her here. And then I flip it over, and then you can see details from this.
Exactly. So the section is really built upon this idea that you could pick any one of these posters out of the section, just pulling it out, reading, or just spending time with the art. And then when you're finished, you flip it over and you get to find out more about it with the help of Times journalists and experts in the art world. So, one of the most difficult things here was actually making sure that the image reproduction worked well. And I have to credit my colleagues, Dave Braun and Jim DeMaria in the Times' art production department, that really spent days and days and days making sure that these reproduced as true to life as possible. And then in addition to that, we were able to get some nicer paper. So you may see that this paper is a little bit thicker. It's a little bit brighter than what the rest of the newspaper is printed on. This is ordinarily reserved for our Sunday Style section, but we were able to get dispensation to use it for this, and it really helps those images pop. And it also will last a little bit longer than some other newsprint products that we produce.
And you can put this up you could kind of hang it up if you like. You could frame it if you want. This is Arjuna competing in an archery contest circa 1815. And because these are these Mughal miniatures, as they're called, the artist has been lost in time in most cases. So that's probably what happened here. This painting has a story to tell you, it says. Can you tell what it is? How is perspective used in this painting? This is, Andrew, did you worry that you're giving people homework at early morning on a Sunday, that people may not want to do the homework?
We talk about something called the breakfast test sometimes of, would somebody want to see this at breakfast? And I think yes. There's so much in this world that is disheartening, and sometimes people complain that they tune out of the news because there's, it's nothing but bad news, or it's all negative. And one of the things that we try to think about is that it? And there's more that the New York Times and news organizations in general are able to bring to their readers. I think this is a perfect example of that. This is something that makes your world a little bit bigger. It changes the way you might think about it. And yet it's not news. It's just something that can make your world bigger. So,
Yes.
you know, as far as I'm concerned, this is exactly the sort of thing that I would like to see at the breakfast table. And it's one of the things that I think is great about our report, that you can see on our homepage that, you know, there's news, but there might be a great profile that you're interested in, or an interview, or something like this, where you spend 10 minutes or an hour or 100 hours taking a look at a piece of art.
I know people will be excited to look at Starry Night, but before I do that, I want to ask my visiting nephew to just give me a statue that's standing right there to match it to this. This is, he's going to bring it to me and I'm going to show it to you. This is, this painting is called Arjuna, the story of Arjuna, right? We had read the Arjuna competing in an archery contest. It's not just an archery contest to win a bride. A princess would be his if he won this contest. He's a famous person in India's kind of a demigod. And in our home, we have a physical representation of that statue. As you can see here, this is Arjuna, and there's Arjuna. He is trying to shoot the eye of a fish that's high up. And in this statue, he's actually looking down at a bowl of water, and then it has to shoot up. As you can see, he's shooting up. Here he gets to look directly up. This is the story. Focus wins the day. This is the statue that you get when you are elected into India's Sports Hall of Fame. My wife Rupa was one of the world's top women rifle shooters. So the Arjuna Award is what you get, Neil and Andrew. So you're seeing this all come together in this unusual moment here. And you can see the word Arjuna Award, which you got from the president of India. So I had to show you folks that. Any thoughts?
That's fantastic. What an amazing, view of both the image and the sculpture. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it looks. I like to say it's like the Heisman Trophy that we have at home.
Yes.
But now this is the moment everybody would want to focus on. This is the Starry Night. I didn't know it was called the Starry Night. Starry Night at MoMA. And I take guests there all the time, and they stand there and look at it. It's often very crowded, but here we go.
You know, it's funny on Arjuna, just to go back to that for just one moment, that you bring up scale, because that's one, if you look at the dimensions that we've printed on the bottom right of each sheet, that's one that we've printed larger than it is in real life. So the real object is smaller than our reproduction here, and the thing that we've tried to bring to readers is something like this larger in life experience, to be able to really have the gallery in your home. And
you're right. It's only 16 inches by 11 inches. That's what they call Mughal miniatures. And exactly. Here he is shooting the arrow, and here he is shooting the arrow, as you can see here. So
yeah, so it's about 23 inches wide on the sheet of paper.
Yeah, so much bigger. All right, talk about this.
So yeah, I mean, the Starry Night is probably the most famous work that we've put in this section, and that has been part of the digital series. This one was a lot of fun. You can really see the texture and the brush strokes in this reproduction. Once again, my colleagues in our production did an amazing job just making sure that the image looks like the image. And I think one thing that Larry gets at in his piece here on the back is that the Starry Night is one of the world's best known pieces of artwork. It's very famous for a good reason, but at a certain point, when something becomes so famous, we begin to forget how to think about it and how to actually look at it. We look at the Starry Night very quickly and we say, oh, we recognize that as the Starry Night, but are we really looking at it and thinking about it? And so that's why it was included in the series, and why you see the headline there is Seen, Loved, Unknown. So it's trying to get you to look at things that may seem familiar in an unfamiliar way with an open mind.
That's brilliant. I want to just make sure that we bring in a couple of comments from our viewers. Loretta Chin, watching on LinkedIn, says the 10-minute challenge is a fantastic idea. We need art and to make things slower. Thanks for the PDF. Ron Thomas is watching from Verona, New Jersey. Patricia says this is amazing technology. She's referring to the the interactive version online and being able to zoom in really closely. Miriam is watching from Hell's Kitchen. Pradnya says, you're reminding me I need to make it to the Met for the Raphael exhibit. And John Borstein says that you must. And Mary says she saw that at the Met yesterday. It's marvelous. So that's another, I think, benefit of this, Andrew. I mean, yes, I think it would be, interesting. We could almost do our own a little 10-minute challenge with our viewers and see how long people can spend with a particular piece if they go to the online version, or time themselves looking at the print version. But in general, this is reigniting interest in art. It's getting people, even if they just are inspired, to go back into a museum and sit and look at a different piece. I think that'd be great. That's the piece that Sri is looking at, is the wide. You mentioned the different sizes you had, right? 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages.
Yeah. So this is an incredible piece of work by our colleagues at College Point at the printing plant. The Times is one of the only plants in the country that's able to produce these sheets that are wider than a traditional newspaper spread, that are 3 or even 4 pages wide. And in this case, we actually didn't produce that as a standalone section as we sometimes do, but we inserted it into the broadsheet section. So it required a ton of press work and a lot of really hard work from all of our press workers at College Point to make this happen. But it ended up being a pretty extraordinary payoff here, that you have this 3-panel newspaper that's showing a 3-panel painting. And like you were saying, Neil, ideally this doesn't start and end with this newspaper section or our digital project, but it's something that you can take into the world. That if you're really are worried about your attention span and want to try and rebuild it in a way, that doesn't just have effects on the way that you consume art. It's a way of approaching the world.
One thing that's interesting, and for our regular viewers, they'll know we talk about this quite a lot, that the New York Times is actually printed at 20 printing plants around the country in order to be able to get the Sunday paper or any paper on the same day. I know that when I lived in Seattle, it was the Seattle Times press that printed the newspaper. And here I'm actually based in Washington, D.C. It's the Washington Post that prints and delivers the paper for us. It'd be interesting. It's almost like doing an audit. I was looking through my copy of the paper, and thankfully, Andrew, the Washington Post was able to print the Bosch piece as 3 pages back to front, unless you delivered it to them. That's the
exactly. So every copy of this was printed at the Times plant in College Point, Queens, and it was trucked around the country to be inserted in papers that were printed elsewhere. So none of the plants that we contract with have the ability to produce this. We decided that this was something that was really important for our readers to get, and so we printed all of the copies at College Point and distributed them.
Mike told me about that. When we have special sections like this, special gatefold, etc., it obviously changes the timeline. You have to have that ready so far in advance, and then truck it out and make sure that the timing all works. So that's wonderful that you were able to do that, and I am thankful that I could sit here in Washington, D.C. and still get the same experience as others in New York.
So a couple of thoughts. First, everyone, please go to digimentors.group and look for the New York Times Read Along button and scroll down so that you can immediately download the PDF. It's not the same as having the print newspaper. It's not the same as looking online, but it's going to be a record that you can keep of this. It's a very special keepsake, and you can find it on digimentors.group. Neil's putting in the PDF link, the tiny URL that you can find as well. So take a look at that. It's tinyurl.com/10-minute challenge. So definitely look for that when you can and download it.
And I will say, Sri, as far as the PDF is concerned, it is actually, it's not the same size as the paper. Here is, I mean, you wouldn't be able to see it, but this is the 3-panel box. It's a pretty big piece to pull out. But the PDF does, I was able to get the PDF to replicate the full experience, where it has some pieces in a 1-page format with the 1 page behind it, the 2-page and the 3-page Bosch. I effectively disassembled it and then reassembled the PDF so that people would have that that experience. Otherwise, it's challenging.
Yeah, of course. Andrew, how many minutes do we have with you left? Because we have lots to ask you, lots of
Plenty
questions.
of time. Plenty of time.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I'll add, unsolicited actually, is that the New York Times is actually selling this 10-minute challenge section. So if you're unable to get a paper today or this weekend, we are selling it on our store. That's at store.nytimes.com. And if you look at the newsstand section, you'll find the 10-minute art challenge. It's for sale for $5, and it ships internationally. So for folks who are not in the US or otherwise unable to get a newspaper, you'll find it there.
So let me say a couple of things. One is, last week we showed an ad from the print edition of the New York Times, Andrew, which was an ad for the 100 top soccer players in history, which was put together by the New York Times, and I decided to buy it, and so I did, and it showed up. Look how big it is. I thought it'd be like 200 pages. It's the Soccer 100, and it's Oliver Kay and James Horncastle and the athletic staff. So this is really cool. I'm very excited about it, and it's in order according to the Times, so it's going to be very controversial. You can guess who is number 1, 2, 3, but very good purchase from the paper's website from the storefront. And I'm surprised you're selling it for $5, because even just shipping and everything is going to add up, obviously. But why such a low price? Is it just you want this out there and you want as many people to access it?
I can't speak to the way that we set our prices, but I'm relieved as a customer to see that you could buy this for just $5.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
and one other thing, I'm going to ask you a business question, which you may not be allowed to answer or know the answer to. Look at this amazing work that's gone into this, right? And there's no advertising in there. You got the better paper, you got the all the work that went into it, the trifold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What is the business discussion that's had at your level with your department about something like this? Do they say, can you cut back a couple of pages? Can you increase? What is that conversation that you have?
Sure. I mean, I think that's a great question. The short answer is that we are a subscription-focused business. And when we're talking about print, we're concerned with making print the best newspaper in the world, something that's worth subscribing to, something that's worth buying, something that's worth spending time talking about on a Sunday morning like we're doing. And part of that is going above and beyond, that we do try and put special supplements in the paper of making it feel like an expensive product, because it needs to be worth it. And so when we talk about making something worth it, you have to put some time and effort into that.
So thank you. And that's exactly the answer I give people who are trying to make businesses out of content out there. Wayne Camadoy, your colleague, we put a puzzle together every day for print. This section is a 10,000 piece one. Took our very best visual and editing minds to make this masterpiece available for your breakfast table. And my breakfast table is very grateful, Neil. And Andrew, I'll give you a chance to say hi to Wayne. Neil, you first.
Absolutely. Wayne, thank you so much for all the support you've given us over the years. And yes, the New York Times, the paper itself is a puzzle. It's a miracle in terms of getting to print. Particularly, I want to go back several years to COVID. We loved seeing how the paper came together, but it's a daily miracle, as the short film titled it, getting the paper. And Sri and I have both had the incredible honor and pleasure of being with Mike Connors at the College Point printing plant, watching the paper come off the press. It was actually, Sri, part of my birthday celebrations when I turned 50.
Yes.
Mike picked me up from my mom's house and on his way down to College Point, drove me into the city and gave me the full tour. I couldn't have been happier that week. That week, we also interviewed Jake Silverstein in his office 4 days before the New York Times Magazine came out in print. He shared it with our viewers. Talk about life highlights, and then seeing the museum. I was just, my mind was blown.
Yeah, there is a New York Times Museum, and we have a tour that we have been talking about doing for a while that we will do. Folks, this is the New York Times Read Along. We do this every Sunday. Today we have a special guest tuning in and coming in to us from his vacation home or his vacation rental. I don't know. We don't need to get into the details. In Lake Como in Italy. What a gift that he's giving us, Andrew. Thank you so much for being here. And Neil is in DC. I'm in New York, in Manhattan. And one of the things we got to do is now we've gone to Andrew's vacation breakfast table. We've been in the physical home of Tom Jolly, the print editor of the New York Times, and had bagels with Carla Baranakis, who is the New York Times copy chief, national copy chief for a long time. And we got to talk about the paper with him and with her. And then Neil got to go to Amy Vershup's house when there was a special travel section, separate travel section, Andrew. And I was very jealous. And that was in January of 2020. And we know, of course, what everything that happened after that. So I think Wayne owes us a visit to his home, either virtually or physically. We may just show up. You don't know, Wayne, that might happen. So watch out.
Absolutely.
We want to pay some bills. So very quickly, just to tell folks that we'd love for you to subscribe to the Sunday New York Times. Sorry, of course, subscribe to any newspaper, the New York Times, any newspaper in the world. This is not just about the Times. It's about fighting misinformation and disinformation. So we'd love for you to support the Times and any newspaper. Journalism matters. That's one of the points we like to make. And then my Sunday note, which I get up in the morning on Sunday before the show and write, has just come out, and we would love to have you join it. Is to subscribe, srinet.substack.com. There's also another 7,000 readers on our LinkedIn version, which you can find as well. And this is what Andrew was talking about. We are offering our paid subscribers. It's always free, but there's a paid subscription. We're offering lots of new opportunities to interact, not just with me, but some of my more interesting friends and people, newsmakers and others. So what Andrew said earlier, that the reason they put in all this effort into the print publication is because people are subscribing and paying, and so many of you pay for the Sunday Note. I'm so grateful. And last announcement is that we have a new course that we want to show you. It's called AI is Happening to You. Now what? The practical skills and the confidence to stop being a bystander in the AI era. Christina DiGiacomo and me are teaching a class on AI. It's a 3-hour workshop, and you can find the details if you go into the link, the tiny URL that is being shown to you on screen. Take a screenshot right now or a photo right now, and you get 50% off if you're a New York Times reader. It's 5 hours of classes, 3 hours plus a 2-hour catch-up 2 months from now. So please join us if you can. We'd love to have you with us for that. And there you go. Take a photo of that, please. We are so grateful to everyone who watched. And we've got a question that's come in that we're going to now go back to Andrew, who's been listening patiently as we paid some bills. And Andrew, the question is from John. How was the art in the selection selected?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it goes back to the digital project. What we do in print is we often curate what's published online, and we try and represent it in different ways that make sense in the newspaper. So in the back of the section, as Sri was showing, there's a catalog of all of the different pieces of artwork that have been shown as part of this project. And I think we're up to 23 now. So once a month, my colleagues Larry, Frankie, and Nico publish this on the first Monday of each month. So you'll get a new one every Monday. Every first Monday of each month. We've taken 6 of those. So we only had so much room in the section. We had to make some hard choices. But we started with that set of 23. And we wanted to, first of all, have art that reproduced well. If something is so massive that you really need monumental scale to see. That's not going to work in print. Another one is whether we had enough to say on the back to fill the page or the sheet or the trifold. And so I actually ended up designing most of the series, and we selected the 6 ones that we felt worked best. So, I have a InDesign file on my computer that has probably 15 to 18 of these all designed just as a proof of concept. And then we went through it together and picked, the ones that we liked best, that had a nice diversity in terms of style, time period, the identities of the artists. And I feel really happy about the 6 that we picked. I think there's a great mix in there from, a Dutch flower painter to this early Netherlandish triptych with religious significance. Arjuna is a really interesting scale, and it tells this narrative story that isn't present in some of our other pieces. So I felt really good about this mix that we had. And obviously we wish we could put more in the section, but there might be some coming further down the line. I don't know. But we also have a great selection of these online that anyone can take a look at if you're a digital subscriber.
Thank you, Andrew. I want to make sure that Sri, we only have a few more minutes left with Andrew because of internet capacity. So I want to check. We've had a great discussion about the 10-minute challenge. Can we switch to the front page for just a few minutes? Because this is what Andrew's day job is when he's not designing special print sections like this. And of course,
Great.
Andrew, I know that you weren't involved in designing this Sunday's paper, but what can you tell us about designing the ebook in general? What are some of the general issues that come up when you do that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I haven't had anything to do with this past week's paper. I've been on vacation, so I've also done my best to not really tap into the news. So as far as story play goes and presentation, I don't have much to say, but I can speak generally to some things that we talk about in news design. And one of them is that we're not designing things for decoration. Design has to mean something when it comes to news. It has to carry out the message of the content. And so if we've come to a design idea that isn't supported by the content and the journalism, then we need to reapproach it, because everything has to be in service of the journalism. The design is in some ways needs to be invisible because it needs to echo the journalism. So we love doing big splashy presentations and talking about the things that we can do with the newspaper, but it has to be justified by the content. And in a case like this special section, it all came back to the content. We weren't doing trifolds for the sake of doing trifolds. We were doing a trifold to display something that was actually in 3 panels that needed that kind of aspect ratio to be displayed. And the same is true with news design all throughout the main news section, is that has to be in service of the journalism.
That's great. Thank you. Sri was showing the insider column that you wrote about the art section, how we brought an art gallery into the paper.
Is this your first byline in the paper?
No, I've had some bylines talking about some of my other work in the paper, but I'm not a reporter.
What was it like to do this writing? Was it fun? Was it a challenge?
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's great to let readers in on some of the process about what we do, and that can take the form of an insider. It can take the form of conversations like this, where we're talking about just how something came together. So when I put that insider column together, just to let readers know about this, it's a lot like this conversation. Actually, there's a lot of overlap between the questions that you've asked me and what we've answered in the article.
One thing that I learned is that you use InDesign. I thought there might be some specialized software that you use for your design work. So talk about InDesign versus other options that are out there. And then I'm going to ask you a little bit about Canva and its impact in democratizing design.
Sure. We do have a proprietary, or not a proprietary, but we have a design client that we use called QPrint, and it's really great for our production needs. But when it comes to things that kind of deviate from a template, QPrint can be a little bit rigid. So I ended up designing this in InDesign, but ordinarily our work is designed in QPrint.
Very cool. So another question then is about Canva, which I think is one of the great products of the mid-20th, 21st century, and what it has done to allow people to become designers or to think they've become designers. When I used to teach our design classes, typography, all of that at Columbia Journalism School 25 years ago, we used to say we can teach the tools, we can teach the tech, we can teach the toys, but we cannot teach taste. So talk a little bit about what Melanie Perkins, who's launched Canva and is, unlike the tech bros who've become billionaires, she's one of the good guys out there because of how she has approached the world of technology and what she's done with Canva. Are you a fan like I am, or do you think it's been too disruptive?
I can't say that I have used Canva at all. So I have very little to say about it. Ultimately, I think democratizing design it can be a good thing. The way that Adobe has had a real stranglehold on the market has definitely been eroded in the last decade. I can remember when I was an undergraduate, that was really the only option. And now there are all kinds of tools that people are using. And I think that's a great thing. There are different ways to make great graphic design, and a tool is a tool, but you have to also have a mindset or an approach. And I think that's distinct from talent. I think you can teach an approach. It's not intrinsic.
Okay, folks, if you have any questions for Andrew, do let us know. We have lots of comments also coming in. Andrew, what is your story? How did you get into the business, and how did you get into the New York Times and rise to this deputy director of news design level?
Sure. I started as an intern at the New York Times, and I started as a summer intern in the summer of 2015. I joined the features department, and I spent 10 weeks getting my feet wet and learning the ropes from different art directors in the features department. It was a great experience. And at the end of my internship, as it turns out, someone was out on medical leave, and I was sort of a warm body that was around, and I was able to temporarily step into that. And I started working freelance. So I got very lucky that sort of course of events had happened to line up. And I continued freelancing there for about a year and a half, and eventually I got hired in the news department, where I've been since. Those departments have a slightly different approach. Those feature sections are these weekly sections that you'll see all throughout the Sunday paper, and that's a great group that's headed up by a design director, Shannon Robertson. And my group, News Design, handles the daily section. So it's that main news section, sports, the daily art section, business, and so on. And we have slightly different approaches and different things. Like I said, news design maybe needs to be a little more invisible, whereas in features design, you really can be a lot flashier and more expressive. It was a bit of a learning curve, definitely, when I started in news design, because I had to turn that a little bit back, not turn it off, but I had to, dial that a little further down.
Thank you,
it's
folks.
been a great experience working at the New York Times.
Yep, thank you. Look at what Amy watching at 6:30 in the morning. She's been watching for 5:30 in the morning, live from Washington State. She says that she loves it and that it's a dream job that you have. What a dream job, and that's so cool, folks. This is the New York Times Read Along every Sunday, 8:30 to usually 9:30. We're going a little extra because we haven't actually gotten to the paper, so we have to actually talk about the news and all of that. We're going to lose Andrew at some point. He'll tell us when he has to step away. his family has kindly lent him to us in the middle of their day, right? This is lunchtime or maybe beyond that. One of those great Italian summer lunches, I'm sure, is either in store or you've already eaten. And we're grateful to you for being with us. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, including Neil's Instagram. So everyone should follow Neil and follow me at Sri and Srinat on those different platforms. John says that this is, you can teach, as we said, you can teach tech, toys, tools. You can't teach taste. And he says you can't teach talent. And that's obviously something that's there. But we know that there's a lot of luck involved. And I'm thank you for saying that, because not everybody has the opportunities that we've all had in our lives. And we have to be grateful for everybody who made that possible. And we should do all we can to bring in people who otherwise wouldn't have those opportunities. And that's also important. So, Neil, what is your plan for the extra half hour that we have today?
Extra half hour, we're going to actually go through the newspaper and do our what we used to do, going through each section. Andrew, I know that you are running up against your time limit. So we'd love for you to stay if you can. If there are any final thoughts you have on the front page, you gave a great description of kind of some of the priorities that you have to balance when designing. Just remind us again in terms of which sections do you have a hand in usually when you're back home and working? It's not just the news, the A-book, right? But it's also you said business and others.
Yeah, it is the main news section. So the front page, well, A2 and A3, that front of book there, international, national, obituaries, the daily business section Monday through Saturday, the art section Monday through Saturday, and sports, and then of course special sections like this.
I want to go through the sections and just have you kind of comment on them, but I don't know if we finished looking at the front page. As we said, Andrew himself is on vacation, so he didn't work on this, but this is this section he works on. And Neil, didn't we have someone whose job is to be the A2, A3 editor?
Yes.
That's a job at the New York Times.
Megan DeTrolio was with us about 2 years ago before they redesigned A2 and A3, before these sections, were reimagined. And she walked us through what that process was like. That was pretty incredible. My favorite, and I've said this multiple times, the Times Insider column on page 2, where Andrew has his story today. I think of our show as a Times Insider show. When we go behind the scenes and get insights on what the paper, what it took to put the articles together. We have the international section.
Right here. And you seem to have a lot of photographs, right? There's more emphasis on photographs here, maybe, Andrew, than normal other pages, or is that, I'm just imagining it?
Yeah, the dress pages, which are what we call those pages that have the banners at the top, where you'll see international or national, tend to be display pages for us. And what we mean by that is that it's an article that might have some great art. It's something that we want to give some prominence to. So, the reason an article might be on an international dress page might vary from day to day. Some days it might be a great news story, and other days it might just be a nice feature that we think our readers need to look at. But it is a display page for us.
So Sudha is wishing my dad happy 82nd birthday, which is on June 17th. He's coming to the US from Kerala, India for a month, retired Indian ambassador. For Father's Day, which is coming up next week, I'm taking him to this spot right here. This is Shinnecock Hills for the US Open Golf Tournament. And in Southampton, New York. I don't know how I'm going to get there, Neil, because the traffic is going to be terrible and we don't own a car. So we're going to go by, I think we're going to leave home at 4:30 a.m. to go the 50 miles or whatever to Long Island to watch this. Happy Father's Day to you, Neil. And I think we have a graphic explaining that why I'm able to not be here doing the show at next week. So I think we're going to show that as well.
We are taking next week off. June 21st, we will not have a show for Father's Day weekend. We will be back, however, the week after that. And the week after that, Sri, will be our 400th episode, June 28th. It's been 10 years, 10 and a half years at this point, maybe a little bit more. October is when Sri started the show. and I joined him about a year and a half later to produce first behind the scenes and then on camera as things progressed. 400 is pretty special.
Yeah, and 10 years. And we also want to thank our viewers on scroll.in. They have 500,000 subscribers. This is one of India's most important independent news sites. By the way, you have a story. Well, Andrew doesn't because he didn't put it together, but no answers for families year after crash in India. That's, can't believe it's been a year since that story broke. And then, Andrew, how does it work with these ads? How much notice do you have when like these ads are going to be here? Is it hours, days? How does that work? And Canada plans child social media ban. Thank you, Canada.
So Andrew, answer that last question. I know you're going to have to run, so answer that last question quickly before you have to leave us.
Yeah, advertising. We work with our partners in Ad Makeup, which is the group that puts the ads on the pages, and we typically get a list of what we call scratches in the morning. I don't actually know the etymology of that, but they have where the ads are going to go. So we'll find out where the ads are in the morning, and we move things around accordingly to make sure that all the news that fits gets in the paper.
Yes, and by the way, a really important ad. This is from an eSIM company, but explaining how eSIMs work. So whether you use Airolo or something else, it's good to have hotspots. I know that Andrew has one as well.
So Andrew, thank you. I know Andrew's hotspot is running out, so we're going to have to excuse him from the rest of the show. But Andrew, thank you so much for joining us while on vacation and offering your insights on the 10-minute challenge, working with the print team, working with doing those different mock-ups and then selecting. Really, really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the rest of your time away, and we look forward to following up with you the next time there's a special edition coming up. Maybe we can have you back on the show. It would be great to continue our conversation.
He's probably not seen this. I'm going to show this to him. It says How Soccer Changed America and How America Changed Soccer.
It is the first time that I'm seeing that paper. Yeah, I haven't been stateside for about a week. But anyway, thank you, Neil, Sarith. Appreciate you both for having me on and giving me the opportunity to talk about the 10-minute challenge. And
thank you.
Sorry to bail with the hotspot.
We'll look forward to having you back when you can. Thank you, Andrew.
Excellent show. I missed the first 35 minutes, so we'll catch up. Sudha says great show. So thank you to Andrew. What a great get for us. And that's possible because of our friendship now at this point with Wayne Camadoy and Tom Jolly at the print section of the
Mike
print part
Connors
of, and Mike Connors,
the one that made this
who brought us. Yes, of course. And we want to thank him. I'll thank all of them for making this happen. I know I was thrilled when I got to do a Facebook Live, an early version of this, in the Times printing press, and we had to kind of shout over the machines going. And I'm hoping that we can do that again with Mike, who has deep connections into the New York Times for generations, and he'll remind us of all of that. Let's see who else is watching. Ron is watching and says, Happy Father's Day to the dudes. And Radian says, June 28th, putting that in my planner. And we're going to give everyone who's watching a chance to participate. We're going to email. If you're not on Neil's email list, you must get on that list. Please email him, neil@digimentors.group, neil@digimentors.group, and he'll add you. Once a week, you get a little note that tells you what's coming up. And it's a great way to get these PDFs, even if you're not able to watch us. So please grab that when you can. And we're going to give everyone a chance to do a short video talking about the New York Times read along in the 10 years that we've had it. So watch for that. And we look forward to having you. And Diana, who always watches at 5:30 in the morning, she often has the paper lying in her driveway in California, but watches us live on the show and then decides people say I don't sleep enough. I believe she sleeps less than I do. And unlike me, I'm always kind of worried about it. She just says that's kind of life, and we sleep when we can. and she has a full, deep, rich life, and manages to sleep when she can. And Rajan says, "Thank you to Andrew, who was our guest," and so says Diana as well. So can we just quickly look through the paper?
Let's
See,
fill
yeah.
out the hour, Sri. We
Yeah,
promised a
okay.
90-minute show. We have
Sure.
20 minutes to go.
Yeah. So I'm going to
do it.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. This is Arts and Leisure. Martha Graham and the invention of a new art form. 100 years ago, she took a barefoot leap for modern dance. Her influence is the discipline continues to reverberate. So this is not breaking news, obviously, but this must be the 100th anniversary of, and they're using this unusual description by calling it a new art form, but new 100 years ago is what she did, and the magic of her. And then Dog Day Afternoon the set is transportive with 70s detail down to the takeout menu. So there's a Dog Day Afternoon, I think a theater version of the famous Al Pacino movie, which I remember seeing as a kid in New York. Well, what else do we have on here? Broadway celebrates Juneteenth. That's coming up. It doesn't fit on the Sundays that we're doing this, and Neil, I know our work with these great organizations. They celebrate Juneteenth as should all Americans. So if you want to talk a little bit about it, we have an international audience that may not know what Juneteenth is. As I kind of flip through this, so go ahead.
So Juneteenth is a celebration for folks who may not know. During the Civil War, when President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, it didn't effectively propagate everywhere at the same time. It didn't actually, people didn't get the news. And June 19th is when folks, I think it was in Galveston, heard in Texas. That that slaves were now free. So that has been a celebration over the last number of years, more than actually 100 years, 40 years. If I'm doing 160 years almost.
160 years, yeah.
To celebrate that this year, Sri. What's interesting is that June 19th, is the day that the Obama Presidential Library and the Obama Center is opening to the public in Chicago. And there's actually a John Lewis Plaza that is at the very front of that center. So we'll be part of that celebration.
And we're honored to work with the John and Lillian Miles Lewis Foundation. Yeah, it's so we're so lucky to do that. We also get to work with the SPLC, which Kash Patel and this administration are suing for basically exposing the right-wing extremists who are promulgating hate in the United States. Hands down, the best TV show of the year. Have you seen this? Beef. I have seen first season. It was excellent. I haven't seen the second one. It's a lot of energy is spent watching that because you feel for these people. So you've seen one of the seasons?
We've seen it, and there's a third season coming up. I believe it's the last one. I think it's a finale. It's the series finale. Rahadian did the math. It's 162 years. Thank you.
With the two Indians who can't do math here.
Yeah, Beef is a pretty good show. I want to mention, I think we talked about it last week. Pam and I are watching All of Mankind, the show on Apple TV, which is a counterfactual history of the space race, which is just fascinating.
I recommend it highly. If you do have Apple TV, it's worth getting just for that. This is the book review section. Declarations of Independence in Freedom Around the Globe. Sarah Pearsall tracks the stirrings of liberty beyond the British colonies that became the United States. So I'm not sure how much he gets into Africa, India, etc. Courage Can Save Us is a book, The Extraordinary Americans and the Fight for Our Future. We have seen that lots of people are fighting, speaking up, speaking out, and it makes a big difference. Here's Gautam Rao's book, an ad for it. It says, Policing American Slavery, White Power. He'd be an interesting guest speaker for either one of our partners that we get to work with, Neil, or for one of the things that we do with our newsletter or our Substack Live. So I'm going to reach out to him. White Power, Policing American Slavery, the Violent Legacy of U.S.'s Slaveholdings Oligarchy, and the Brutal Policing of Black Americans. I definitely want to read that. We have 15 minutes left. This is the book review. We haven't looked at the bestseller list in months, Neil. The number one book, The Divorce by, this is hard copy, I guess, or combined print and hard copy. Okay, fiction. The number one book in the country is The Divorce. I know nothing about it. It's after her husband ends her marriage and she turns her attention to his new girlfriend. Naomi suspects she might be in danger. So this is it's only been on the number one bestseller list for 1 week, so that's new. And then The Deal by L. Kennedy, and then Final Target Theo by Nora Roberts and Theo of Golden by Alan Levy. I don't know these books. And Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. That's the top 5 of the fiction section. Let's go to the nonfiction. The Land and Its People by David Sedaris has been number one for 1 week. Strangers by Belle Burden is a book about retracing her marriage of 20 years in search of clues to help shape her understanding about its demise and a way forward. And then The Hero Next Door by Martha Raddatz. This is the journalist and a former speechwriter for President. The Emmy Award-winning ABC News anchor profiles members of our military who served in the wake of 9/11. And last 2 books, All We Say by Ben Rhodes. He's a former speechwriter for the New York for Obama. And Liar's Kingdom by Andrew Weissman. The author of Where Law Lands argues that a flaw in America's legal system allows for deceit in our politics. And that's one of the things we talk about a lot in the newsletter, srinet.substack.com, as well as on the show, Neil, that as we celebrate America's 250th anniversary, and you and I need to come up with something for our July 4th, even if we don't do a live episode, we'll definitely do something marking it on this show, that America is not as great as we like to keep hearing and saying that it is. It's a special place that has done so much good in the world, but has also done so much bad in the world and to its own people. And that's part of the reason we are in the terrible situation we are in this country.
I want to go back, Sri. You were looking at the book review, and I want to just point out the very cover, Declarations of Independence. I had read the review online when it first came out a couple of weeks ago, and what it talks about is, the revolution was bigger than just the 13 colonies. And reading from the review, we meet revolutionaries and liberty lovers, men and women, enslaved and indigenous, old and young, in far-flung places, the American interior, India, China, Scotland, the Caribbean, and the forests of what would become Germany. The unifying theme, resistance against British authority and influence. So I certainly encourage folks to check that out. I'll share a link to the book review in the chat.
Thank you. Rajan says, I know that no ethnic group is monolithic, but the Kash Patels of the world anger me. That's not an ethnic group. That's just the MAGA base, a podcaster. Well, Neil and I are podcasters. Neil's a Gujarati podcaster like Kash Patel.
Uh-oh, watch out.
Watch out. Don't bring up ethnicity. Miriam Berkeley says Stephen Adley Gurgis wrote the play Dog Day Afternoon, which is currently showing at August Wilson Theater. And there are too many great books and not nearly enough time. And Rajan says that this timeline is a terrible dystopian novel. I pray it ends soon. I want to say to everyone, no matter how long Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, et cetera, serve in office, the damage done by this presidency and the 2 presidencies of Donald Trump are going to last for decades. And we're going to pay that price. And we are already paying that price. The Sunday Business cover in the last 10 minutes, they tried to catch a predator. They trapped themselves instead. What happened when live streaming vigilantes ambushed an innocent man? That's also part of this timeline we're in, where people are able to do things like that. Billionaires' billions are increasing faster than ever. Musk's trillionaire status shows in real time the density of wealth at the top. And today's today's Sunday note is about AI and Musk and there's a cartoon that we have in the publication today that specifically talks about Elon and a waitress at a diner saying, "Hey, send him to tax him so that he will then send himself to Mars faster." And as we know, he's not going to pay enough taxes on the on the money that he's made or making, and the damage that he is doing to the world. So reminder, the srinet.substack.com, please subscribe. And if you can afford it, please become a paid subscriber. We love your support. And we have a very special I'm going to show you this version of our promo. AI is happening to you. Now what? The practical skills and the confidence to stop being a bystander in the AI era. Go to that link, srinet.mn.co, or the link you see on your screen, and you get 50% off for New York Times read along viewers. 50% off NYTR 50, a 3 hours online workshop. We're offering 2 versions of that, and then a 2-hour update 2 months later, so that you don't miss all the news that's happening in the world. That's Christina, I'm Sri, and we're going to do this together. So please sign up. Go to the link you see on the screen if you can.
Three. 2 other announcements I'd like to share real quick. We have another edition of Shining Light on Shadows coming up this week. And I'm proud to say we're at episode 50, so we're not quite at 400, Sri, but episode 50 is pretty
Amazing.
good. It's been 2+ years. We're going to be focusing on the gaps in mental health services for K through 12 students. And our guest is going to be Lee Kaiser. He's a retiring educator. He has 30 years of experience. He's also from my hometown of Hastings-on-Hudson. He was a couple years ahead of me in school. And I am really excited that he'll be joining us in this Thursday, June 18th. I also want to mention, Sri, and we talked about this last week just a little bit. We did a webinar for the American Otological Society, and I'll put that on screen real quick. Silencing the Noise, New Insights into Tinnitus. So if folks have ever had ringing in the ears and trying to understand what is going on, what does that mean? Certainly encourage you to watch the replay of this webinar. It was a pleasure to produce this for the American Otological Society in collaboration with the Korean Otological Society. So you see some of our speakers, and you see Sujana Chandrasekhar in the bottom right corner. Longtime friend of ours personally and of the show. She was actually working behind the scenes to figure out which comments and which questions we should put online. So we want to make sure to give that a little love as well. Silencing the Noise, New Insights into Tinnitus.
And you'll find show notes for everything we talk about on our Digimentors website. Just go there, go for the read along section, and then click through, and you will find all of these links and the things that we're talking about. So please check that out. And look at this. Naomi says, now I find out you extended the show this week. More, please. Naomi Service watching from Rhode Island, former Upper West Sider like me. I now live near the UN, and she's moved to Rhode Island. And thank you so much for joining us and watching with us. And Neil, congratulations on 50 episodes. That's so special. Not enough people talk about mental health, not enough men talk about mental health, not enough South Asian men talk about mental health. And you have done that for 50 episodes and 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I've forgotten.
We're in season 3. We finished
amazing.
2 seasons. We're in the middle of season 3 now.
And we're very proud that you do this. And we're proud that we can support you as you do it. Very quickly, last few minutes, let's look at the real estate section. David Sedaris's Picassos need room to breathe. There's David Sedaris, the humorist who has the #1 book in the country. You just heard his name. The humorist on art collecting, interacting with fans, and the surprising upside of the Upper East Side. Wow, I didn't know there was such a thing, though I did grow up on the Upper East Side. Metropolitan section, the pull of a land they call home, a tribe driven from the area centuries ago, looks to restore its heritage. The metropolitan section is very unusual. It is only delivered to people in the tri-state area. So the only time, if you're watching around the world, the only time you'll ever see this in print is on the show
The
because they,
full
yeah,
the full section, right?
yeah, the full
In
section. The stories are
outside,
distributed. Yeah,
we get like 2 pages of the
yeah,
metropolitan
right,
section
right.
as part of the ebook, similar to sports. We don't
Mhm.
get a separate sports section often; it's just folded in.
Yeah.
Um,
This is the big story that was on the front page about Alex Boris, a former Palantir executive who's anti-Palantir, and therefore people are attacking their super PACs, attacking him now. And the pull of the land they call home, high housing costs and a furious generation. Look at that! They run two ads in the New York Times, full page and a half page ad.
a lot of
Uh,
money in that race.
yeah. By the way, I had to look to see if this is actually a positive ad or not because there's so many negative ads about him. And then the Sunday Styles cover. Look at that. Very striking cover. This looks like actually a friend of mine, but it's not her because this is surfacing from the scene with her novel Lost Lambs. Michelle Cash has broken out from a circle of young writers forged from the absurdities of the pandemic. And projecting Gen Z's fears on screen in Backrooms, a horror film about an eerie labyrinth, digital life, and the real worlds and the real world collide. I don't know if Emily has seen this yet or knows about it. She's Gen Alpha anyway, so that's a whole different set of issues you're dealing with. Mary Curtis says, a brag, if I may, this past week won the SBJ DC Dateline Award for my roll call columns. Thank you for all your support in these times. Thank you, Mary. We're going to celebrate together, I hope, this week here in New York. Mary, John says, fantastic. Congratulations. Or Naomi says, my pleasure to be an original viewer. Quick recommendation, Ragtime. So prescient and brilliant. Joshua Henry clinched the Tony. Magnificent. And I know people have been recommending Ragtime. I love the film and I love the music of George Gershwin. Let's very quickly look at the magazine and then we have to go. So we're going to do this in 60 seconds and then 60 seconds for goodbye. The cover is Can Hi, can I do your job? The future of work in an age of AI. Oh my God, we need a whole special conversation just about this issue. Four experts discuss how to compete in a job market dominated by AI, what it's like to tell a staff of AI bots, what's it like to tell them to manage your business, all kinds of things in there that you can check out. Martin says, congrats to Neil on his 50 very important episodes. You always have great topics for us. Can you mention the announcement by your former guest,
Yes,
Bill
of
Ritter? Let's
course.
wish him well. Let me do that. Bill is the king of New York television, local television here in New York, and Bill announced on Friday that he has Alzheimer's, and he's stepping away from the anchor desk, but will continue to report and do stories about a lot of things, including Alzheimer's. And he did everything he does is so beautifully done and such a pro in everything. I want to read you the note that I composed for Bill. Let's see if I'll have to show you another time. But here's what I wrote to him on March 4th. I said, "You're a mensch and the television king of New York. Thank you." I'm so proud of Bill for his ability to be a everyday New Yorker telling stories, and he thanked his longtime producer Zahir Sachedina, and he said, "A Jewish journalist and a Muslim journalist working together in the longest continued partnership on New York television or ABC with the two of them. And this is the story. He's stepping down after Alzheimer's diagnosis. The veteran journalist told viewers on Friday it would be his last time anchoring the newscast, but he'd be assuming a new role covering the disease he is fighting. He is 76 years old. He doesn't look it. And he has been a guest on my COVID show when we were live for 250 days. He also came to greet us on my birthday during my 50th birthday during the pandemic. So, Bill, we wish you the very best and thank you for all you do for New York, for journalism, and for your community.
I'll just add, Sri, and you've known Bill for a number of years and very good friends with him. I only was able to interact with him a few times, particularly for your birthday show,
Mhm.
and he couldn't have been the easiest person to work with. he didn't know me from Adam when I reached out to him, but I thought he'd be one of the people that would be good to. It was a surprise show that we did for you.
Yes.
And he couldn't have been more accommodating, more flexible, very gracious with his time. I just want to wish him and his family well for what lays before them in terms of his journey, his health journey going forward.
Yeah, when Ruth and when Martin had brought us a conversation with Ruth, with Dr. Ruth and everything, so it's all connected together. I felt very emotional watching Bill say goodbye like that, and his championing of fighting this disease, which he had already done. He had lost his father to Alzheimer's, so he knew very well what the danger was. And him stepping up and speaking like this is very special. Radian says, prayers for Bill Ritter and his family. With that, we're going to say goodbye. I will go try to get Bill on our show at some point to talk to us. But thank you so much, everyone. Neil, happy birthday. Happy Father's Day in advance. And everyone get this very special free PDF of the 10-minute challenge. You can see the tiny URL there, or go to digimentors.group and find the New York Times read along there as well. Diana says, another great show. Both of you are superstars. Thank you so much. And John says, great show. Thank you. We leave John, who always gets the first word, the last word. Bye-bye, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. If you missed the beginning of the show, as soon as we're done, you can find it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and our Digimentors website. Watch it from the beginning. Great interview with Andrew Sondern, Deputy Director of News for the New York Times, for news design. Thank you. Bye-bye.